Welcome to Audiobook 365 Story.
It's Saturday evening. Mr. and Mrs. Phillips and their children, Roger and Helen, are playing cards in the living room. Suddenly the telephone rings in the hall. Mr. Phillips gets up and answers it. When he comes back, he's smiling. "That was your Aunt Elizabeth. She's back from Greenland. She's coming to see us tomorrow morning, and she's got a surprise for you too." "A surprise for us? What is it?" Roger and Helen shout. "I don't know," says their dad. "She says that it's a secret." And now it's time for bed. "Come on, Dad, one more game." "Oh, okay. Then straight to bed." The next morning the doorbell rings. Roger and Helen run to open the door. It's Aunt Elizabeth, and she's got a big metal box. She hugs the children. Then she opens the box very carefully. It's full of small pieces of ice. She puts her hand into the ice and she slowly takes out a big egg. This egg is from an ice cave in Greenland. It's very special. Now, I need your help. "What do you want us to do?" asked the children. "I want to see what happens when we put the egg in a warm place. There is no heating in my office at the museum during the summer," says Aunt Elizabeth. "I thought I could leave it here." "Yippee! An experiment!" shout the children. They get a cardboard box and put the egg inside. Then they put the box next to the radiator in the kitchen. Aunt Elizabeth comes to check the egg every day, but nothing happens. Then, one day while the children are having their breakfast, they hear a noise. "Look at the egg!" shouts Helen. "Something's happening. It's cracking." Slowly, a long beak appears. "It's a bird," says Roger. "No, it isn't," answers Helen. "It hasn't got any feathers." "Of course it's a bird, stupid. Baby birds haven't got feathers." The animal opens its beak. "Let's give it a sausage," says Roger. Helen gives a sausage to the animal. The animal is very hungry. It eats 5 sausages, 2 cooked tomatoes, and 6 pieces of toast. A month later, the family are having dinner. "That thing's growing very fast," says Mum. "And it's always very hungry," answers Helen. "Roger thinks that it's a bird, but I don't think so. It still hasn't got any feathers." "What does Aunt Elizabeth say?" asks Mum. "I don't know. She's away on another trip, and she isn't coming back for a few weeks." "Let's check what it is," Dad says and gets up. At that moment, the animal spreads its wings, flies over to the table, and grabs Dad's fish. The children laugh. Mum is not so happy. "Get off the table!" she shouts. Dad goes to his computer. "Hey, come and look. I know what it is. It's a pterodactyl." "A pterodactyl?" shout the children. "Yes, they lived a long time ago. They're a type of dinosaur. Pterodactyls can fly. Yes, we know that, Dad, say the children and laugh. Dad sits down at the table. Where's my fish? He asks. Look at Dacty, Dad. He's got it, Helen says. Now he's got a name, says Mum. Dacty sounds nice. It suits him. A few days later, the children are in Helen's room. What are you doing with the bandage? Asks Roger. There is something wrong with Dacty's wing. My room is too small and he keeps banging his wings against the walls and furniture. He can't fly. I feel sorry for him. And he is always hungry. Can you get something for him from the kitchen? Roger goes into the kitchen and cooks a big plate of sausages. Helen helps Dacty down from her wardrobe. Roger puts the plate with the sausages in front of Dacty, and the pterodactyl quickly eats them all up. Then he tries to fly onto the top of Helen's wardrobe, but he can't. Mum, we have to take Dacty to the vet. He can't fly. There's something wrong with his wing. Can you take us? All right. Put him into the big basket. And Mum, don't tell the vet that he is a pterodactyl, says Helen. We don't want people to find out we've got a dinosaur in our house. There will be stories in all the newspapers. Okay, I won't say a word, says Mum. When they get to the surgery, the vet looks very carefully at Dacty. The wing is not broken, but it needs rest. I'll put a splint on it, and it will be better soon. But what sort of bird is this? What happened to his feathers? Oh, he's a special turkey from South America, and they don't have feathers, says Roger. Oh, yes, of course, says the vet, but she looks a little confused. 2 weeks later, Dacty's wing is better. Helen and Roger want to see if he can fly. They wait until it is dark, and they take Dacty outside into the garden in a big basket. Come on, Dacty. Now you can really fly, says Helen. But Dacty doesn't want to get out of the basket. He is holding his blanket in his beak. I think he's cold, says Roger. I don't think so, says Helen. He's afraid. Helen and Roger take Dacty out of the basket. Roger climbs a tree. Come on, Dacty, he shouts. But Dacty quickly climbs back into the basket, taking his blanket with him. Let's take him back into the house and phone Aunt Elizabeth. She came back yesterday, Helen says. The children phone Aunt Elizabeth. They tell her that Dacty can't fly in Helen's room, and he doesn't want to fly in the garden. Aunt Elizabeth tells them that pterodactyls lived at a time when it was very warm. There were jungles everywhere, even in Greenland, so I think he likes warm temperatures, she says. But he can't fly in the house. He's too big now and Mum hates him flying around, says Roger. We need to find somewhere else to keep him. Don't worry, I'll think of something, answers Aunt Elizabeth. An hour later, she phones Roger and Helen. "I've got an idea," she says. "Get Dacty ready. I'll pick you up in half an hour." Half an hour later, Aunt Elizabeth arrives in her car. The children take Dacty and sit in the back of the car with him. "Where are we going, Aunt Elizabeth?" they ask. "To the museum. My office is very big. It's perfect for Dacty during the day. And at night, when the museum is empty, Dacty can fly around and look at all the wonderful things we have. I can't believe I didn't think of it before." "What will he eat?" asks Helen. "There's a restaurant in the museum. The cook, Mrs. Robinson, is my friend. I can ask her to feed Dacty." At the museum, they take Dacty out of the basket. He stretches his wings and hops on top of a stone lion. "Can he see in the dark?" asks Roger. "Yes, they see very well in the dark, just like owls," explains Aunt Elizabeth. "Look!" shouts Helen. Dacty takes off and flies high up. Then he lands on a stone statue. Aunt Elizabeth takes some sandwiches out of her bag. She holds them out to Dacty. The pterodactyl flies down and takes them. Then he flies up to the top of the statue again. "He likes it here," says Helen. "Bye, Dacty," they shout. "See you tomorrow." 6 months pass, and Dacty is very big now. During the day, he sleeps in Aunt Elizabeth's office, and at night he flies around the museum. But one night, something strange happens. At midnight, Dacty sees lights moving inside the museum. He flies closer to see what is happening. There are 2 men with torches inside the museum. They are wearing masks and they are trying to open a case. Inside the case, there is a mummy. Suddenly, one man looks up and sees the pterodactyl. He is very scared. "Look, Bert," he says to the other man. "There is a huge bird up there." The other man looks up, but Dacty doesn't move. "Shut up, Eric. Don't be silly. It's only a statue," the man says. "Come on. I'll open the case. You look for the gold medallions." While Bert tries to open the case, Dacty flies down and grabs Eric. The thief is so scared that he can't say a thing. Dacty flies up and leaves him on top of a statue. He's stuck. Bert is so busy opening the case that he doesn't see what is happening. "Hey, where's the drill?" he says, but there is no answer. "Eric? Where are you, Eric?" he asks. Then he looks up and sees his friend high above on the statue. Just then, Dacty flies down again and grabs the second thief. He lifts him in his beak and carries him up to the statue. The 2 men are very afraid. They start shouting, but there is nobody there to hear them. In the morning, when Aunt Elizabeth comes into the museum, she hears the men shouting. Then she sees the broken mummy case. "Help! Help! There's a monster in here!" the men shout, while Dacty flies down to her. "First things first," Aunt Elizabeth says. She goes into the restaurant, opens the door of the fridge, and takes out some fish. "Here you are, Dacty," she says, and pets his head. "Here's your breakfast." "Thank you very much. You did a great job." Then she phones the police. The mayor shakes Dacty's wing and puts a big shiny medal over his head. "Congratulations! You did a great job." Then he turns to Aunt Elizabeth. "What a great idea to have a big bird as a guard." "Dacty's not a bird," Roger says. "He's a pterodactyl." "Roger," says Helen, "don't say anything." "It doesn't matter, children," says Aunt Elizabeth. "Dacty is a hero now." "A pterodactyl?" shouts another man. "Wow! They love warm weather and jungles. I work in the botanical gardens. We have a wonderful palm house. It's big and warm and just like a jungle. Your pterodactyl will love it there. We can feed him well and you can come to visit when you want." So now Dacty is living in the palm house at the botanical gardens. Roger and Helen visit him every day after school and bring him nice things to eat. One evening, Aunt Elizabeth comes with them. "I'm going to Greenland again," she says. "I want to look for another egg in the ice. If I find the right egg, maybe we can find a girlfriend for Dacty. And then we can have some baby Dactys too," shout the children. "Can we come too?" they ask. Aunt Elizabeth smiles, but she shakes her head. "Okay, Aunt Elizabeth," say the children. "Don't worry, Dacty. We'll stay with you."